If you've ever wondered why you feel restless when things are calm, why you struggle to sleep, or why you feel both anxious and exhausted at the same time, this video is for you. There is something that impacts every adult child of an alcoholic, even if it's something that you can't see or realize. And that's cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. I'm Corey. I'm a trauma-informed mind-body practitioner, and I help adult children of alcoholics come out of survival mode and finally find safety. Today I'm going to talk about what is cortisol, how growing up with an alcoholic parent actually rewires your stress response, the long-term impacts and effects on your body, and most importantly, how you can move forward. So let's start with, what is cortisol? Cortisol is a stress hormone that is released by your adrenal glands when the brain thinks you're in danger. It raises your blood sugar levels, so you've got quick access to energy. It sharpens your focus, so you can react and respond accordingly. And it temporarily shuts down systems within your body that it may not need to fight off the perceived threat, so like your digestion or your immunity, so that it can put all of its energy into the resources that it needs to help keep you safe. And in short bursts and in times of need, this stress hormone can actually be life-saving. But the problem is when cortisol is consistently pumping around the body because of the environment that you grew up in was chaotic. So think of it like this. You're a child where your home is unpredictable. You never know if your mom or dad is going to come home drunk or not. You don't know if there's going to be yelling, screaming, fighting, or worse. So your nervous system, your body, learns that danger could happen anytime. And because your body is on this high alert, it's waiting for the danger to happen. Every moment of tension or every argument that may have happened in your home is triggering a release of cortisol. And over time, your body adapts to this state and it continues to release cortisol, even in times where there is no tension or there are no arguments. And when we're in this state, it's known as being in hypervigilance. So we're constantly scanning for threats. We're constantly waiting for something bad to happen. And I know this feeling all too well. Like, I can project myself now back to that feeling in childhood, especially lying in bed at nighttime, because that would be a lot of the times when the arguments would happen. But even when there was no argument happening, I would be lying in bed awake, waiting for something to happen. My body and my mind would constantly be on that high alert. Literally, I could hear a pin drop, constantly waiting to hear, is there going to be screaming? Is there going to be shouting? My body and my brain never found a state of relaxation in bed at nighttime, never found a state of safety. And that is why for years I used to tell my best friend, I hate sleep. I don't know how you can be someone who really likes sleep, because she would be someone who would like sleep for hours and have a lie on. And I would be someone who would go to sleep as late as I could and wake up as early as I could and probably toss and turn for the whole night. And I never understood why she would be like, I love sleeping. Because for me, sleep and being in bed equaled a state of hypervigilance. It never felt relaxing or calm or safe to me. And so there are some long-term impacts that happen when we are living in that state of hypervigilance, when we've got a constant flow of stress hormone pumping through our body. Because, as I said, when cortisol is released in times of need, it can be life-saving. We actually need stress hormones in our body to help us function, to help our body function, to help us get through life. But there are times then when cortisol is constantly flowing through our bodies over a long period of time, and this is when illness can occur. This is when it starts to impact us in a negative way, because our bodies are not designed to have a constant flow of cortisol pumping through them. They're designed to have a peak, and it serves its purpose, and then it tapers off, and then we go back to living a balanced and regulated life. But if you're the child of an alcoholic, you don't get the taper off, because life is not usually balanced or regulated. You're constantly waiting for your parent to do something. So over a long period of time, you can end up feeling like you're really wired and on edge, but you're absolutely exhausted at the same time. And because, as I said previously, cortisol will raise our blood sugar levels, will give us that spike that we need for that instant energy. But when it's constantly spikes, This messes with our insulin and can lead to like big crashes. And that is why so many of us can feel super like restless and on edge or anxious, but also physically and mentally exhausted at the same time. It can really have a negative impact on sleep, and this was the biggest one for me. So normally when we're balanced and regulated, cortisol will drop at nighttime, so our melatonin can kick in and help us sleep. But if our cortisol levels are high, our melatonin levels start to get suppressed. And this is why falling asleep or staying asleep can be really, really difficult. And our cortisol levels will naturally peak at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. So if you're someone who, like me, when you're going through a stressful period of time, will constantly find themselves staring at the walls or crawling the walls at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that is because you've already got a high level of cortisol pumping through your body. And then it gets its natural spike at about that time. So you'll find yourself that you're automatically awake. And you might be feeling anxious or stressed or overwhelmed or just wired and wondering why you can't get back to sleep. Another big area that cortisol negatively impacts is actually our brain function, and it's not something that people regularly think about. But high levels of cortisol actually shrink our hippocampus, and this affects our memory and our learning, so like our ability to retain information. And this is why so many children of alcoholics, myself included, you may struggle to actually remember like a lot of your childhood, or you may struggle to remember certain aspects of your life. Well, it may be because you've had a very high level of cortisol pumping through your body, and that is actually impacting how your brain is functioning. But it also impacts our prefrontal cortex, which helps us regulate our emotions. So again, when you've got a high level of cortisol pumping through your body, you may find that you're like really emotionally reactive, or really like emotionally irrational. So you may be acting in a way that may not seem rational. It's not, again, because there's something wrong with you or you're a bad person. It's actually because it's impacting the part of your brain that controls that rationality. So this is why your focus or your memory recall or your emotional regulation can be really hard for you, can feel really different compared to the people around you who have maybe not grown up in an environment where they have a constant flow of stress hormone going through their body. And this one can be really difficult to deal with because it can make you feel a lot of like shame about yourself and your ability, because you're like, why the hell can't I remember anything? Or why am I so emotionally irrational? Like, why am I behaving like that? Or why can't I just retain that piece of information? Like, what the hell? What is wrong with me? I know I've had so many of those moments where I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And again, the whole point of me doing these videos is for you to realize and understand that you are not broken. You're not a bad person. There's not something wrong with you. There is usually a deeper why behind the areas of yourself or the parts of yourself that you don't like, that you don't feel proud of, or that really frustrate the hell out of you. So next, it has a massive impact on your physical health, because over time, cortisol really weakens our immune system, but increases inflammation in the body. And this can lead to gut issues, chronic pain, or even autoimmune diseases. And if you follow any of like Gabor Mate's work, you will hear him talk a lot about, especially women who carry a lot of high stress through their lives, or who've experienced a lot of childhood trauma, or who are the main caregiver in the household, so deal with a lot of the shit on a daily basis, develop autoimmune diseases a lot more over men or other people who may not have experienced what they've experienced. And that again comes back to the high level of stress hormone that they have in their body. So as well as impacting like our health and our sleep and our brain function, it also impacts our behaviors. So you may feel anxious even when the space around you is calm. You may struggle to rest or find stillness without feeling guilty. You people please to avoid conflict, or you might find, like me, you try to control everything because that feels safe for you. But the good thing is, okay, and as I've said this before, you're not broken. There's not something wrong with you. You can heal. You can actually reduce the level of cortisol in your body, and you can help your body and your mind find safety and regulation. So how do you do this? Well, there are multiple ways that you can do it. I would always start off with nervous system regulation. And that can be breath work, grounding exercises, gentle movement, starting off with something as small as 5 minutes a day. Whatever that is, ensuring that the exercise helps your body come back to a state of safety. The next one is sleep and nutrition. So making sure that if you are having high cortisol in your body, for me, what I had to do is I had to avoid intermittent fasting. So I fasted for probably about 2 years. I didn't eat until 11 a.m. and I stopped eating at 7 p.m. And I absolutely loved it until I realized that it was giving me a hormonal imbalance because, like me, I had a high level of cortisol already in my body. When you fast, it does put the body under stress. So again, more cortisol is pumping through the body. And this gave me a hormonal imbalance. So my periods became really irregular. I actually stopped getting them for a while. I was getting a lot of rashes on my body. And I couldn't really understand why until I started having breakfast, a protein rich breakfast, and all of a sudden these problems started to solve themselves. So if you are someone with a high level of cortisol, or you think you've got a high level of cortisol in your body, you need to make sure you're fueling your body with the right amount of food and enough food that you're not starving yourself. So protein rich breakfast to really help stabilize your blood sugar levels is going to make a massive difference. Again, sleep is key, and having a consistent bedtime routine, so consistent sleep and wake up routine, is really going to help your melatonin levels regain some balance. Another one is safe relationships. So actually being around calm people. So being around calm and supportive people can actually help co-regulate your nervous system, which can help decrease the amount of cortisol in your body. And just knowing that you have a support system around you can really help you feel supported on your healing journey. Can really help reduce the amount of stress hormone pumping through your body. And if you're really struggling, I really cannot express how important getting professional support is. So whether that's working with a trauma-informed therapist, whether that's working with like a trauma-informed coach, it doesn't matter who the person is. It's very individual and based on your needs and what you need to get out of that support. But working with someone who can help you manage the amount of stress in your life, help you manage to find balance, to find regulation, to come back to a state of safety, is really going to catapult or fast forward the journey for you compared to doing it by yourself. You can do it by yourself. I mainly did it by myself, to be honest. It took a long time, but I got there. So it's not that you have to have professional support, but if you are really struggling, I would suggest or advise or give guidance that you really can't go wrong with working with someone who actually knows what they're talking about or who can relate and understand to what you're going through. So, as I said, if you grew up in an environment with an alcoholic parent, you most likely have high levels of cortisol pumping through your body. And this will have shaped you as a person and your life in ways that you won't have even realized. But healing and moving forward from this is so possible. And just having the awareness and understanding of what is happening in your body on a day-to-day basis. What is maybe causing you more stress, or what causes you less stress? What helps you feel calm, collected, and regulated? Just having this awareness is going to allow you to support yourself and empower yourself to move forward and to reduce the amount of cortisol pumping through your body. Because when you reduce the amount of stress hormone in your body, your nervous system naturally becomes more regulated, you naturally become more calm, you naturally start to feel more balanced, and life starts to feel so much more easier. You stop feeling like you're pushing a boulder up a hill all the time, and you start to get a bit more clarity and understanding on the direction that you want to go in. So I hope that video helped you understand that sometimes there are things happening in your body that are beyond your control. And it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you or that you are broken. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this to help support you on your healing journey of healing from the pain of having an alcoholic parent.